recall him coming on a program with me probably a very long time ago, or definitely has not been on this program, and I'm going to blame him for boycotting my shows. I'm going to blame him. I'm talking about Mr. Lloyd B Smith. OD, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Vernon. I'm alive and well, and I trust you are too.
Yes, you notice I'm blaming you for not coming on the show. That I blame you for boycotting the show.
In psychology, that would be called defense mechanism, you know.
You're terrible, you know. Now, you have been around a long time, and a man of substance and experience, and I refer to a gentleman who got the OD. I can't tell you what I describe the OD as. I can't say the name, same for you, but you have been a journalist for many years, a businessman. You used to run the Western Mirror, a member of parliament, and at one time a Speaker of the House. I was a deputy trying to...
Deputy. I wouldn't want to be shot. Remember, they shot the sheriff, but not the deputy, okay?
But if anything, you do the firing. Because, and you haven't changed. There's one thing about you: when you fire, you just fire. You don't mince meat at all. And
indeed, yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, how did you last so long in the political arena? Because that doesn't work at all.
No, you can't say that again.
Yes. And I don't know if you used to walk around with you look at things there and I give handouts. I don't recall anybody saying that you're like that. So you must have been a very rare species.
Well, I had a rough ride because from the very outset when I entered the political arena, I made it clear that I wasn't into the business of handouts and
yes.
Part. And that, of course, earned me the wrath of those persons who, as you know, like those that were at the party headquarters the other day at PNP headquarters. These are people who you refer to as hangers-on and who rely on the gratuity of the MP or councillor, and that is their way of surviving.
Yes. So the one do not work. I don't know if that works. And it's sad, though. It's part of the whole political system. But I don't know if our founding fathers envisaged, you probably say it's the same thing, and it was that bad in those early days. I found that in the early days persons were more independent. Farmers across Jamaica, they not look for no politician, no sir. And then those who entered politics, especially past councils, as far as I can recall, they didn't get any money at all. They might get a little subsistence for traveling. So it was
voluntary.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I remember Felix Tarla, if you remember him. I think he was a minister of Works or Road and Works or something like that. When him come out of God knows, he gone a ground same way. And when he went in God in office, can do him work. So
yes.
Now it's about driving your fancy vehicle and living big. And anyway, things have changed quite a bit. I have invited you here today because, and not for you to get to the cuss and what have you, but for some time now, I'm very concerned about the behavior and how we carry ourselves as a people. But it becomes, it reaches up to you in a more poignant way when our leaders start to behave in a certain way. And let me tell you, and I'm sure you will recall, it has been happening for a very long time.
Yes.
Even the House of Parliament, you will recall that one gentleman picked up the mace, although some person might not have a problem with that. He picked up the mace and walked out. There's been some horrible moments in the House. There was a state of emergency. There was a time when one person went down to the Grand Old Lady on North Street and tell them next time. We have ministers of government who will abuse people and tell them the nastiest word that come to their mouth. And I have been at the end of that one. Except what I did, I shocked them because I was at King's house. And if you know me, sir, if you pass your place with me, I really don't care. So when I raised my voice at King's house, I guess the walls shook. And probably even Queen Elizabeth felt it shaking.
Indeed, yes.
Because I really don't care when it comes to certain things. But the country has no class. And not just about politicians, teachers, doctors, and even this field, journalism. And I laugh when I hear some persons in the field talking. I'm saying, "Come chat. You can't talk because you don't have no class either. You don't think I don't know who I'm going. All of them are talking about who are B2 for wife. Man, some of us in the field do the same thing with B2 wife same way. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I will tell you, so when I talk because I know. Because if you know, I've mixed with any everybody, right? So, we're not going like no nice or no distant. I do know. So, no, cut out the hypocrisy. It is a national problem or attitude, how we behave, how we treat one another, how we behave when it's treated bad. Now, you're here today because I want to give you a perspective. I've given mine already and take up all your time. But you have been around, businessman, politician, ordinary person. What do you think? And you can probably look at what has happened in recent times. I want solutions too, because that's what we need. Solutions.
Well, the bar over the years has been lowered tremendously because, unfortunately, the successive leadership of both parties has oftentimes turned a blind eye to this type of behavior, both in terms of being in Parliament, where a certain level of decorum is expected, and outside of Parliament on the hustings, where tempers flare and all sorts of nasty remarks are made, and even fisticuffs and gunshots are fired and that sort of thing.
Yes, yes.
I think historically, it goes back to the fact that over the years, both parties, in order to maintain a level of popularity with the masses, and as we well know, the majority of people who vote, which I have to be careful how I put it, because in a sense it could be deemed as if I'm being classist. But the fact of the matter is that if you were to check the demographics of who vote in Jamaica, you would find that the vast majority for both parties are to be found in the lower socio-economic bracket.
You know, you use all them big words, I mean, that you know you're talking lower socialist, you know.
In other words, grassroots people, many of whom are not working, unemployed, or just barely existing. They're the ones who go on the buses, go to conference, run up and down for the party. Right?
I see. Hang out on the bus, the man. Yeah, I see.
And so, for the politician, that means numbers, because Miss Jane up in Upper St. Andrew or Mr. Tom in some other little middle class community don't necessarily go to vote.
Oh.
These people who you know, see sometimes when election time come here, see the invalid and the blind people lift them up, go put in a vehicle for vote, coming out of the inner city areas. So the point I'm making is,
yes,
the political parties, because of this first past the post system that we have, this so-called parliamentary democracy, they have to ensure that they win by bringing out these people, many of whom don't know where their next meal is coming from.
Oh, so we're coming like a foul. You know, in that country, so I mean, if you know about them country, they are country. By the way, a Sunday dinner, you look, you know.
Exactly.
And you just throw your car, come, and this stupid falling. Just come, pick up car.
You throw your car, and in this case, you catch the foul.
And you get the foul, and that's the end of the foul. And listen, we have seen many ends in this country, of the people of the country. We keep on doing the same thing.
Exactly. So against that backdrop, Vernon,
yes,
these people will do anything, and I mean these voters, they will do anything to ensure that their party wins.
And then get them can.
And so that's the whole genesis of the thing. So it's no longer a question of focusing on issues and policy. There was a time when a certain party attempted to do what was called political education, whereby it would take its followers into classrooms and sought to teach them the politics, what it meant, and how policies are developed and how they can benefit, etc.
Waste of time.
Waste of time.
Waste of time. And by the way, we wonder why we are falling back at the rest of the world and we're competing with Haiti now.
Exactly. So that is the tragedy of our democratic system.
Yes. So here we put a spin on that now, Mr. Smith. We say we are in a democratic country, but the more democratic we become, and the more crises we have.
Indeed. And if we were to juxtapose, and I must use any big word, but
So you don't want to learn the big words just because you have your big education. You think we want to learn the big words them too. Eh?
if you were to juxtapose all of what we're saying against this whole business of constitutional reform, in other words, if you were to put what is being said now beside constitutional reform,
Yes.
then you see the dilemma we face, because that is one of my greatest concerns, that as we move into this so-called Republican status, does the average Jamaican man and woman out there fully understand its implications, what role they ought to be playing in
Yes.
and whether they are going to just sit by and be gullible and just accept what their party leader or their MP or their councillor said.
But Mr. Smith,
Accordingly.
I had a little hope, you see. There was a time when I would tell you that if you put somebody named Bulla, then name it same way. Now we have 5 universities, and probably more because we have the overseas ones. And more persons are getting tertiary level education, same thing at the secondary level. But I'm just wondering, what's your opinion? Have we really moved, although we say we're educating more persons? What is happening?
No, well, a lot of the educated persons, I think, for one, many of them migrate or are looking at migrating.
Oh, I see.
I think it is said that almost 60% of tertiary, especially university level graduates,
They leave.
migrate.
And you know they're in great demand in places like Canada.
Oh, yes. And so you have the brain drain.
Yes, yes.
And, there was a certain politician who recently, and I thought it was an ill-advised statement coming from, because what he was saying is that what we have left in some instances in the political system is dregs. And I don't...
Hold on. That seems to be a new word. But that's an old-fashioned word, and some persons, I heard one person condemning the use of it. But is that an old-time word, dregs, that we use all the way? What you about a dreg? What dregs is? Because persons are wondering, what do you mean by dregs?
Well, what remains at the bottom of the cup or the pot.
Oh, that reminds me. Oh, when you used to have beverage, you know, coach, you make a beverage, the time the sugar is full of all kind of something, you know.
Some at the bottom is dregs.
And the dregs fall at the bottom. So what you do, you drink off the top and you throw away the dregs.
Right.
So, people understand it's a graphic way of saying that you're really not contributing. And just like how, I remember once I referred to some people as Butu, and they see it as a class thing. I said, no, Butu is how you behave. And but you can't call people Butu. So I said to them, what do you call someone who steals a car or steals something? What do you call them?
Exactly. So, what is up therefore is that both political parties, it's a classic case, Vernon, of the tail wagging the dog, especially, no, it's a fact.
My God.
Especially when one moves into what we call the silly season. And we are fast approaching that now, because local government elections are due. And so we also have the general election coming up. Supposed to be in 25, but traditionally we have seen where most parties usually call an election in the 4th rather than the 5th year.
Yes.
Likely that come next year we'll have general election. It's going to be a grand mix-up and confusion, because we also have to do the referendum, and it might be more than one referendum. So we might have to say referenda, which most people don't know what that means.
That again.
It's a plural of referendum.
Yes. What is Latin, no?
Yes, it's one that. So it's going to cost a lot of money, because elections cost a lot of money, and I'm wondering how the government will cope with all of these major expenses. But the reality is that we are entering the silly season, which is why we are now seeing all these activities. And
I'm going to suggest I just stop calling it silly season. I call it fool season. Silly sound too nice.
That's all right. I yield to your more apt description.
I'm glad it was a wisdom, because I will not have the wisdom that you have. Your father expressed. No, it is sad. I am laughing, but I'm actually crying. It is very sad. And we look at what happens up north and other countries, and we think we can make this into a great country by doing the stupid things that we do and the behavior that we see of our leaders. We don't care what you know say. We know for no can't take me to start the truth. A butu behavior. And there was a time when even if you don't know better, when you put on your look Sunday best, you put on your jacket and tie. I remember when we used to go to Knoxville and the parents would go up on Knoxville, you see, they don't only put on their Sunday clothes, but then go with their Sunday behavior. Now, then can them butu behavior everywhere and their crude behavior on the roads and function, because official function or embassy. And let me tell you something. When the figure licking food, sweet, let me see. I see some people, then 10 figure, they put on their mouth, you say, they lick it off one by one. Then when they say, you go big shot place, you go like, you're sophisticated. You mustn't drink the wine, you feel sip it.
Indeed. And what has happened in all of this, is that our political representatives, many of them have been pandering to the lowest common multiple. And again, I use a big word, but basically what I'm saying is that they yield to what is at the bottom, the dregs.
The dregs, okay.
To gain popularity and to get what they hope are the vote.
But tell you what, some of them don't know better than come here and tell you. Some of them don't come from nowhere. I mean, not come from nowhere. I mean, come from a rich place or what have you. Because
we're talking about brought up.
Yes, I tell you, that's why old fashioned sitting to come back, brought up, see. And listen, we're talking to Lloyd B Smith, a journalist, a businessman, former member of parliament. You're going to go for the break and stay with us so we soon come back.
You're tuned to Vernon Darby. Oh, Lord, get ready for roller. Oh, Lord, ready for...
Welcome back. You're listening to Rhythm FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. And of course, we have Mr. Lloyd B Smith. Another name they have for him is the governor. True, sir? Hello?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I'm here, brother.
Boy, them can't give us some titles there. You don't need no official title, No, we only have about 5 or probably can go over a little bit time, 5 or more minutes. Now let's look at where we need to go from here, because it doesn't make sense. It's like all the cuss that happened here, what happened at the office there with Mr. Warmington and so on. We just had chat and the news media must tell you. That's why they don't like me, no sir. We just get into we just looking news. I'm into solution and I'm into using the media to change my country. Just to be just regurgitating all the nastiness and audio and the cuss and the cargo bring come, I find to be very unproductive in the media.
Yeah, well, I think, for example, if I may use this as a point of departure.
Yes.
I think it has been unfortunate that the office of the political ombudsman has been disparaged and watered down by the very same politician who would have engendered its existence through Parliament. And when we observe what is happening and what continues...
Oh, by the way, the office no longer exists as far as I know.
No.
When I say does exist, there's nobody there.
It is claimed that it has been subsumed into the Electoral Commission, which is a nice way of saying it has gone south.
Lord have his mercy.
We need something like that to begin with, and it means that civil society, we have a number of very influential, high-profile, vocal civil society groups. They have to consistently go after these perpetrators of indiscipline and crass behavior in the public space and in Parliament. Name them and shame them.
No, hold on, sir. This is where you go wrong now. How if Darby go up on a platform and chip too bad with and cuss way? How you going to shame when the whole of the audience love it and say, Ray! How you going to shame it, sir?
Well, there is something called moral persuasion. We have to start somewhere.
Yes.
And I also believe that even looking at the new constitutional reform scenario as well, I also believe that we now need to begin to look at the whole business of ethics and how public officials ought to behave.
Ethics that sound like a Spanish word or a Latin word.
There should be sanctions. I think even in Parliament they need to revisit the rules of engagement in Parliament. They need to look back at the book that they use there, what it's called again, it slipped me right now. Because
standing order?
The standing order,
yes.
That needs to be revisited and to perhaps introduce some more stringent and very clear-cut. Because in a lot of cases, the speaker is helpless. And part of that, I think, is that the speaker sometimes is constrained by virtue of his or her being a member of one of the tribes.
Right.
Tribes. So the level of independence there, is affected. And for me, one of the suggestions I wanted to make in this whole concept is that the speaker should be in the same way that they're talking about selecting the ceremonial president or whomever, with consulting both houses and both of us. Because the speaker must have a greater level of independence and must be able to have certain powers to ensure that certain levels of decorum and proper behavior, if and when infringed, there should be serious sanctions.
In the United States, for example, you'll realize that some persons were part of the House, they behaved in a particular way, and the House was able to remove them, although they were voted back in. But at least you sent a signal. In Jamaica,
a symbolic move was made.
Right.
And we need to begin to look at that. The reality, though, is that one of the things I would love to see happen, because one of the downsides of all of this, Bernard,
yes,
is Senate. There was a time when the Senate, which is euphemistically referred to as the upper house.
Upper house.
I don't know what is really upper about it.
Them just as low. But let me get myself in trouble, sir. But the problem I have with the Senate.
You see how the upper house behaves, sir?
There's nothing upper about the behavior.
Sometimes worse than the lower house.
Well, we have to. If I was going to school, also we have two lower houses. My concern with the Senate, though, is that they are selected. The whole system came about when you had two cousins, and I have a problem. Recently, when I talked about one person, didn't have a problem, but when the upper house, so-called upper house, overruled the elected members of the lower house, and I must admit, I have a challenge with that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that in this new dispensation with constitutional reform being on the table, that will change, because for one, I think that senators should be elected,
How can the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition just appoint who they want to put it? That is why, a creative Prime Minister, not the Prime Minister. If me appoint you, me must can remove you. So anyway, just give me a pre-signed letter.
You remember that famous incident with Tufton and another gentleman there who had to sign pre-signed resignation?
Exactly. You see, what we need, we complain about the pre-signing of the document. But if I appoint you, I must be able to remove you too.
Indeed.
So that is why I believe that senator should be elected.
They should be elected.
Yes. And by the way, when I'm in the Senate, you say they have so much big chat. They have bigger chat than those who are elected.
Right. And not only that, part of the problem with the Senate that I have is that sometimes it is a dumping ground for persons who fail to win a seat in the lower house.
And sometimes it's a dumping ground, and sometimes it's a place for the slow starters.
Yes.
To put them there so get them like a jump start. But when they go there, they come like, the first time for a cracker, you like, you boof.
Yes.
No explode at all.
A wet squid.
Tell you this thing else. Let me tell you something. I enjoy talking with you, because, by the way, I must tell you, I'm one of those who believe, and I really must tell you, that's why I called on you too. I think we can discuss our country, we can discuss the PMP, we can criticize them, and the JLP same way. We don't getting upset. I don't know why we're come on, and I am telling you. When I tell you, when the Prime Minister behaves so well, when I call Jamaica, I was almost tired of it. I said, Mr. Prime, I don't care. And for those who are doing like a spin, let me tell you something. The behavior of our leaders, let me tell you quite bluntly, it's bad. So not coming out, spin and talk about rape, it is bad. And even the rape business and business who it was referring to, it no matter. There are certain things you don't mention and you don't behave in a certain way. And the media people may tell you to feel better because no for no class either. And my good friend here, you probably know who I'm talking, I'm a schoolmate. Sometimes some of us can do better, so remember I tell you that. I won't go any further than that one. Sometimes we can.
One of the problems I have with some of these younger media practitioners is that sometimes they behave as if they think they are holy cows.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is that a journalist or reporter, yes, must enjoy certain rights as granted by press freedom.
Yes.
But they have to face facts. I mean, in my journalistic career, which spans decades, I've been threatened. I've been threatened with death and destruction.
Yeah.
I've had to go through several libel cases.
I'm quite aware of that too.
Right? So it's par for the course.
Yes.
And so they can't expect that everything is going to go the way they want it to go.
You're not babies who to be pampered or what have you.
It's going to be rough and tumble.
Yes. Mr. Warmington, of course, I know you, Mr. Warmington. You have a schoolmate. Mr. Powell for me, I know them. So let me tell you something. You know what I'm capable of. I know what I used to do. Same thing with the journalists, them. On a company radio and not going like perfect. I know what someone want to do. I no fight one another, no tear one another, no carry so no chase one another. Let me continue and tell you no. So don't go like no decent and no smart. Don't tell me out of rubbish.
As I said, as if they are holy cows, and it doesn't work that way.
You said nice things. You're going to tell me I must be better on the area. Do you know? But Mr. Smith, we have to talk more often, after all leaving.
Well, I enjoyed this encounter, and if and when I can be available to your program, I'll be more than delighted to explore other avenues of discussion with you of national import, because we need this kind of conversation.
And by the way, that's how we can change things. That persons who think different, no matter whether you're PMP or JLP, we want a country to move forward and lift it up. Therefore, we need to talk.
Country first, party second, or third, not third.
Exactly.
Let's go. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lloyd B Smith.
You take care, Vernon.
OD, and that OD is well deserved. You're not an ordinary dunce. You are a talented Jamaican who has contributed quite well to this country. You continue.
I thank you most humbly, and I wish you all the best with your program.
Right. Have a good day, my friend. All the best.